Spoiler warning, which should be obvious, but whatever. Hi, I'm in a good mood today. Well, half is if I'm being completely honest here, because I was writing this script while I'm sick, and on the other hand, the amount of lore we got is a lot. Unlike last time where there really isn't much for me to theorize, this time is different because we have a lot of things to theorize. Speaking of theorizing, thankfully, my Arlecchino theory got debunked so I don't have to C6 Rodova and Farca. Well, okay, I'll be nice with you all. Even though my main theory got debunked, a lot of them are not. For example, Never indeed got her moon will from Thoth. She has strong connections with Nabu Malikata and Tule Tula. The iridescent moon is indeed Crimson Moon's surviving self. The Traveler, Arlecchino and Columbina are indeed fighting together to defeat Revir in one way or another. The Lindis is indeed Revir's wife, well, wife to be at least. And most importantly, she is indeed connected to the Crimson Moon. Because a lot of them are correct, then I'll at least say 6 Farca. So there you go, all of my debt will be repaid for your entertainment purposes. Oh my god, I kinda regret myself at this point. Also, please, no need for the get well wishes or anything. I am feeling a lot better and admittingly, I have to chase deadlines. I got bored really quickly laying on bed doing nothing anyway, so doing something to distract my mind actually helped me a lot in recovery. That being said, like my first Luna 1 recap, this video will be a mix of both theorizing, analyzing, and recap, so be sure to get strapped in. As always, don't forget to give this video a like and comment so the channel can be noticed by the algorithm. My name is Neko Gitsune, and I make lore and commentary videos on this channel to keep you company. But before that, Luna 2 is finally here, with Nefer joining the playable character lineup. She is a new Dendro DPS that specializes in Luna Bloom, a strong character that also synergizes with Llama if you pulled her in the last patch. Alongside her is Farina, our beloved Hydro Archon that specializes in support and off-field DPS. If you need extra Prima Gems to pull for them, then allow me to introduce you to Loot Bar. Loot Bar is a reliable site for a fast, secure, and super reliable top-up experience for your Genesis Crystal. Additionally, they provide 25% discounts compared to normal prices in-game. Once you start your top-up, they will only ask for your UID, nothing else, so your privacy is guaranteed, and your items will arrive to your account in less than 2 minutes, including the first double top-up rewards if you haven't done that yet. With Miliastro Wonderland's release, you can also top up Kernel Nexus in Loot Bar the same way as you do it with Prima Gems. If you're playing on consoles like PlayStation 5 or Xbox, they're available for both of them as well. Over 20,000 Trustpilot reviews are showing their satisfaction after using Loot Bar, and if you have any problem with your transaction, their customer service is always available around the clock to help you out. Other than Genshin Impact, Loot Bar is also available for other games as well, such as Honkai Star Rail, Wuthering Waves, Sailor Zone Zero, etc. Click the link in the description below and register to get an additional 10% coupon that can be combined with all of the discounts and receive special discounts for returning customers. Remember, discounts are great, but don't forget to spend responsibly. Now let's continue to the content. The quest starts with the traveler being alerted by a local Ratniki about drained Kuvaki energy near Nasha town. Knowing this is an emergency, the traveler and Paimon quickly investigate, and this is where the third act of the Song of Welkin Moon officially starts. A nation that doesn't exist. Meeting everyone, the Kuvaki at the quarry is indeed dried up with wild hunt marks all over them. In order to prevent the worst from happening, the gang decided to split up to the Eye of Kradi and the Pillar of Embla. Before we continue, let me give you a brief information about these places. The Eye of Krati is a place where you can visit during the Whisper Beneath the Waves world quest. This place is said used to be a whirlpool of the same name, and there used to be a ship that sailed to this whirlpool along with the proof of cognoscenti, a piece of treasure that was left by Rit Miller. With Flintz's context, the reason why this place is rich in Kuvaki might be because of rocks that fell from the sky, likely referring to the ancient moon's remnants. As for the Pillar of Embla, this is the place where the first moon chanter of the Frost Moon Scions, Ayla, defeated the Mad Monk by the name of Rotfangi or Rotwang in the Long Night's Oath artifact set. Considering Ayla was involved in the events of this tower, it's very safe to assume that this place is indeed rich in Kuvaki and might be either placed near the Lightkeeper's headquarters, the Pyramida, or Amsfartnir, a place that Farca and the Knights of Avonius went to visit prior to his introduction in this Archon quest. Anyways, the gang later regrouped at Hisi Island, only for an unfortunate event to occur.
아니 왜 갑자기 콜롬비나를? 어떻게 된 거지?
고민은 나중에 일단 막죠.
이건 너무 강하잖아.
여우다, 흡태르님을 모시고 가세요.
거짓된 빛을 계속 갈구하겠다면 함께 어둠 속에 잠기도록. 솔린디스 곧이다.
조심하세요.
가서 놈들을 찾아내라. 여길 초토화시키는 한이 있어도.
We're not halfway through the video and we already introduced to a cutscene, and man, that was so good. After fleeing from Revier, the gang is saved by Farka, who then brings them to the Northern Intelligence Network, a black market for intel that is currently led by Nefer, and while their base is in Notcry, their influence is all over Teyvat. So far, characters affiliated with this organization are of course the Curatorium of Secrets, Diluc, Farka, and while Nefer can't get her hands onto Liyue's intel, Yelan is there to sell and buy intel for Nefer without involving the Ministry of Civil Affairs. It's the main reason why you see that Battle of Bobcat videos all over the media. Anyways, everyone discusses how to defeat Revier. While Revier's appearance might be mostly a bad thing, it's not entirely a terrible thing either, because at this point, they can actually learn his weak spot. Not only that, Farka pointed out the mysterious ally that's been helping the gang since the very beginning, which if you haven't caught up yet, this mysterious ally not only helped the Traveler and Flints discover everything needed to know about the Kuvaki, but they also shielded Hisi Island during Nashatown's cannon attack. I can only think of one person that does this, and considering they've been not only guiding the gang up to this point and are very silent, that mysterious ally could likely be Nicole Rain, one of the Hex and Circle Witches. Not only do their powers have a similar color palette, but it matches with Nicole's personality as, well, a mute guide. It's quite a popular theory ever since that came out, but of course, I can be wrong, so take it with a grain of salt because it can be very likely someone else. Speaking of a mage, Farka also said that it can't be a coincidence that Rehir of Solnari and Columbina are in Notcry, let alone misleading Farka to Amsfartnir because the likelihood of Rehir working alone is very unlikely. After involving Nefer to join the plan, Columbina, the Traveler, and Paimon pay a visit to the Kuvaki Experimental Design Bureau to talk with Sandrone in order to meet Arlecchino. In order to do this, the plan needs to involve Arlecchino because she, out of all people, should know where the iridescent moon's marrow is, which is a crucial part of the plan. The Traveler holds the eternal moon's marrow, Columbina is the representation of the frost moon, while Arlecchino has the strongest connection with the iridescent moon. The conversation itself is mostly about Sandrone and not about Arlecchino, which I will talk about in the final part of this video because the ending of Act 4 is basically Sandrone's origin in some way. Anyway, for Arlecchino's case, apparently she just recently went back to Snezhnaya with Pulcinella and Pantalone for a certain project. If you remember, this project is very likely to be Project Stuja. Until now, we still have no idea what this project is even about, and honestly, I have nothing with me either other than the theory I made in my Not Cry Exodia episode. You can watch that later if you're interested, because a lot of things I said in that video surprisingly aged really well. Now before I continue with the lore, I just want to mention how Columbina left the Fatui because they treat her like a bottomless source of power and greed. Which we already knew, but you know, it's quite ironic for Hoyoverse to say that when their other game is literally holding the greediest patch I have ever seen. I can't even be bothered watching that livestream because it makes my flu get even worse thinking about it. I just hope they don't do that to Columbina, because if they do, I'm going to throw a tantrum. Deadass, I'll even make a whole video about it if they do that. Anyways, after sending a letter to Alegino, Revir and his Wild Hunt armies attacked the facility. Everyone evacuated, leaving Sandrone alone in the facility with her robots, the Boscos, to defend the Bureau. This scene is awesome. It's like a first-person shooter game. But as you can already tell, Sandrone lost, and Revir is capable to one-shot Bologna this time. Moving to Nefer, Lama, and Yehuda's POV, they are gathering intel from a special chess piece that Nefer owns. Dori is also there to lend her brooch to Nefer in case of emergency, and she also said a supplier that can give her powerful equipment. Now of course, if you watch Dori's miscellany, the woman she is talking about is Alice. She is also Dori's first supplier. In fact, they've been close partners for a very long time now, so having Dori to be a Not Cry is not a coincidence, but a choice because of Alice's existence. After all that, the gang entered the chess set, looking at Revir's past memories. So this scene is actually in two parts. One is in this act, and the other is in the fourth act of Song of Vulcan Moon. That being said, the first part is basically tells you about who Revir used to be before he became the way he is today, and so is Stelindis, Revir's fiancé-to-be. He is an ordinary Kynrian, and so is Stelindis, who is revealed to be a researcher from Universitas Magistrorum. Revir lives at a double life, a King's Guard as his cover-up story for Thelindis, while the other is his title being quite literal, the Rehyr of Solnari. Revir covers his job so Thelindis won't find out, because you know, if you guys are in the lore space often, Rehyr meant Avenger, but in this own weapon skin, it is said that he is a moon hunter. Solnari in itself is often associated with Sonnet, the iridescent moon, and if you're caught up with most of Arlecchino's lore starting from Baron Harry to her signature weapons lore, Revir's actual job is an executor of the surviving Crimson Moon bloodline under the Finster King's order, Ermin. Feather Volnir, who is a prophet, knew the ending of Revir and Thelindis' marriage wouldn't end well, and even though he did not say anything about it to Revir, Revir noticed Feather Volnir's silence, and this haunted him ever since. You know what's even worse? Thelindis' main field of research is the secrets of the Crimson Moon, which makes it even more complicated than it already is, isn't it? Weirdly enough, even though this is Revir's memory, somehow Nefer can see Thelindis' as well. Thelindis eventually learns the truth about Revir's actual job because a child from the Crimson Moon bloodline told her about it, and this is where the memory ends. I'll mention more about this later. In the meantime, the Traveler and Columbina are in Hissi Island, trying to escape from the Wild Hunts. In the nick of time, Arlecchino appeared and saved them and agreed to help everyone to retrieve the Moon Marrow. Now in here, we got an interesting lore about the Kynrians dynasty. Basically, the Crimson Moon dynasty shifted to the Eclipse dynasty the moment the Crimson Moon eclipsed. This makes a lot of sense because this could mean that the Crimson Moon in the God's Limits trailer is indeed the time when the Crimson Moon shows its wrath to the people of the Eclipse dynasty, serving Renova in the process. Not only that, we also got an indirect confirmation as to why Kaya is not cursed despite being a Kynrian. So the only people that got cursed by the Curse of Immortality are the pure-blooded Kynrians from the Eclipse dynasty. This case has been consistent this whole time, it's just that we didn't get a grip of it. It's the main reason why Arlecchino, despite being a Kynrian, is not affected by the curse, and so is Kaya. If Thelindis is a pure-blooded Kynrian from the Eclipse dynasty, this meant that she is still alive until this day, but as you can already see from her eyes, no, she is not, and in fact, she is extremely different than any Kynrians from both dynasties. We'll talk more about this later, but right now, Lama and Yehuda informed everyone about Revir's past along with Thelindis' identity. After being dismissed, Columbina's gang head to Hissi Island near the Silver Moon Hall. There's an interesting part in this cutscene where for the first time, they mention an in-game book directly in the Archon quest, Baron Harry, a romance book that originates from Fontaine. If you're a lore player, you know this book has been terrorizing the lore players for a very long time, and the reasoning is simple. As fantasy as it is, the book mentions some interesting details, and according to Piero, the book details interesting facts about the Crimson Moon dynasty. So if you're not caught up, Parent Harry begins by telling a story of the sages at that era who were fishing children from outside of Tevat. In other words, they're trying to find a descender. The book basically tells them that if these children saw the Crimson Moon, this means they have ascended to a higher being and have crossed the two worlds. Arlecchino reveals more detail about this, implying that the reason they even do that is to quote-unquote control these children because they might get out of control. So in order to do just that, let's just say that they descenderize these children by having them see the Crimson Moon in a special space. Like your classic Genshin story, another Jido Gyakutai. Look, I need to find a way to censor this, okay? Just go to Google Translate to see what it means. While the ritual itself in the book needs a fireplace, it is implied that it's quite symbolic. And all they need is the fire that burns within Arlecchino's body, the fire that can cross bridges of the two worlds. Oh, speaking of her, she is an inheritor of a royal Crimson Moon bloodline, the last surviving members of the two worlds' flames. This is the reason why a lot of the sages in that era can open that space, and Arlecchino herself is able to do that as well. In any case, Arlecchino opened the gate and we entered this gate of horrors. I swear, if I'm like, I don't know, like 10 maybe, I would be scared as fuck looking at this. Like what Arlecchino said, the Crimson Moon is actually the surviving part of the iridescent moon that fell into the abyss to prolong its lifespan. This remained consistent with the theory I had where the surviving part of the iridescent moon is likely the color red. After all, the iridescent moon's other title is Mistress of Seven Hues, matching with her as iridescent, a sheer color that is still colorful in nature. In Crimson Moon's case, its power is the combination of both the iridescent moon and the abyss, meaning that those who use its power will also have to pay the price because of the nature of the abyss, hence Arlecchino's blackened hands. Also, we learned that Felindis also went to this place before where she seems to be working with other students. While most of it is redacted, we learned that ever since the Outsider's arrival, the Finster King has fallen into madness, which I can only think of this outsider as the Traveler's sibling. The Wings of Fate's course intertwine also explain this as well, meaning the siblings indeed have more influence in Kainre than we might have thought. It's even more evident when Felindis side-eyeing the Traveler. Now, to be fair, Felindis might be just looking at something else, but it's definitely an interesting detail that they put on. Anyway, after obtaining and purifying the iridescent moon's marrow, it suddenly spoke. This could likely be Sonnet who is talking because there's this popular theory that I am quite sold on. Alaros, Solnari, and Kanon are the names of the moon itself, while Arya, Sonnet, and Canon are the names of the moon goddesses. Sonnet, just like in the book of Parent Harry, is said to have shown fear in her eyes, and it's also the same with the moon marrow when it was purified where she felt cold and fear of dying. She also said the name Hypo to Columbina, which I think is a huge clue on Columbina's actual name. So Arya, Sonnet, and Canon are based on musical terms, and while the closest we can think about when it comes to hypo, or hyperborea and hypostasis, I don't think it's referred to that. In musical terms, hypo is referred to as the hypophagian model, a musical term that consists of two words, hypo and phagian. Now, I'm not necessarily a musical expert, and you might want to wait for Minslev's video if you want more detailed analysis on that, but here's an example of a hypophagian model. It's rather unsettling, isn't it? The same with Columbina, whose background is extremely vague and can be said to be extremely unsettling. Although this stone is also said to play in churches, which yes, I can assure you that this stone is often played at church, not necessarily in an eerie way, but a calming way. This could hint her identity as the fourth moon or the new moon. Either way, we can talk about this in another video. Now enjoy the cutscene.
이상하네. 처음 왔을 때랑 조금 다르지 않아? 깨진 달인, 죽어버린 여인. 빨리 가자! 무너질 것 같아! 그게 우리를 여기 가두려고 해. 그게 누군데? 시면? 정수를 가져가면 여긴 칠흑의 의지만 남으니까 쉽게 놓아주지 않을 거야. 내가 붉은 달에 내 정수, 내 심장! 출구가 막혔어! 또 쫓아왔어! 이제 어떡하지?
이곳으로 떨어지고 이곳에서 떠올라라.
저건
뭘 꾸물거리는 거지?
Alekino saved everyone, but at the price of her right hand being fully contaminated by the abyss. It became a part of her now, and if the Traveler purifies it, her hand also gets destroyed. In any case, because Arlecchino is compatible with the Moon Marrow because she has the Crimson Moon's bloodline, she now is the custody of the Iridescent Moon's marrow, allowing her to share her power with Columbina. Arlecchino is even more powerful now thanks to the Iridescent Moon's marrow, which could mean that this will not be the last time we see her in the Song of Welkin Moon Archon quest. This is where the Song of Welkin Moon Act 3 officially ends. Now let's move on to Act 4. But before we do that, do note that this video took some time to make, so I would appreciate it if you guys like and subscribe to this channel because that lets me know that I'm doing a good job. With that said, let's continue. The Traveler, Columbina, and Arlecchino head back to the Northern Intelligence Network base camp. Arlecchino heads back to the Fatuis facility after that, and we meet with Albedo and Durin. If you're confused on which Durin this is, you can think of it as a combination of both. For a brief reminder, this Durin was already revealed back in Paralogis's Archon quest. He was made by using the body of Mini Durin from Simulanka, Dragonspine Durin's heart, Bakunawa's flesh, embryo left by Rhindaughter, and by using the art of Chemia, Albedo was able to make Durin into a synthetic human, thus the human dragon that we see today. I'm very satisfied with Durin's final design, by the way, because my god, his design is so cool. Because Durin and Albedo are creations of Rhindaughter, this means that they're both canonically brothers, and they even say that to each other. In any case, Farka invites everyone to enter the base, and this is where the fourth act of the Song of Welkin Moon officially starts. An elegy for faded moonlight. Dainsleif is here. I mean, we know that already because of the trailer, but that is still a bit of a surprise, especially for the first time ever. He appears outside of the Siblings Archon quest. Wow, shocking. The reasoning behind his appearance is quite simple. It's because of the Wild Hunt. That said, Dainsleif joined the gang to fight against Revier and made a commission to Nefer in finding intel about Revier. This is where we got more lore about the Five Sinners. Vedifalnir the Visionary wishes to foresee the future, Heroptatir the Wise sought limitless knowledge, Gold Rhindaughter who wishes to create life, Surdology the Foul who pursued supreme power, while Revier the Rehier of Solnari is the Ravager of the Moon. All of them, except Revier, are quite high-ranking and ambitious towards working for Kyria. Surdology is Dainsleif's co-worker as per Space and Time for You and Skirk's story quest. Rhindaughter is the founder of the Art of Chemia. Heroptatir is the president of Universitas Magistrorum, while Vedifalnir is King Ermin's personal prophet. Unlike other sinners where they have clear reason why they succumb to the abyss, Rari's motivation is very unclear as Dainsleif himself has no idea why that's the case either. Now this is where Dainsleif mentioned the lore from Wings of Fate's course intertwined, and by the way, this Wings lore will be very relevant towards this act as well, so if you read this Wings lore, then you know how this act plays out. But for the sake of this video's flow, I'll talk more about this once we reach the proper scene. The Traveler updates everyone about the Iridescent Moon's mirror retrieval and how Columbina's power has been significantly restored. Despite that, however, her power won't be fully restored just yet as Teyvat in itself continuously rejects Columbina's presence. Somehow, the more I think about this, the more I feel like the Heavenly Principles is the one responsible for her powers being drained away. Either that, or it's probably Nibelung because he is the creator of the three moon goddesses. It's the same like the Forbidden Knowledge where Teyvat continuously rejects them, and while I don't think Columbina is a part of the Forbidden Knowledge, it's safe to assume that the Heavenly Principles or Nibelung, or his soul at least, might be the one that rejected New Moon's birth. It's just a wild guess for now, and I'm just thinking out loud here. After discussing further with Dainsleif about Revier, Nefer, Lama, the Traveler, and Paimon return to the Corruptive Realm of Secrets to find more intel about Revier. Using the chest set again, they enter Revier's memories once again while Paimon is left behind to guard, or more accurately, so she won't start talking loudly, because Never knows how fussy Paimon can be. From this point on, it's a continuation of Act 3 where we're trying to find intel about Revier, more about his background, and this is where the lore from Wings of Fate's course intertwined and Crimson Moon's semblance are being clarified further. But let me just say this, I think we all can agree that somehow Genshin loves Jidou Gyakutai as part of their storytelling because this part of the story is just so fucked up that it worsened my flu when I was playing throughout the quest. But regardless, this is where we get to see Rari's fucked up job. We see him crossing his targets and all of them are Crimson Moon descendants. Small little detail, as you go through the crossing, they all progressively become younger and younger from 51 to 6 years old. Not only is this just so wrong because what the hell, but he is forced to do that under Ermin's rules. It got so bad to the point he heard whispers. Not long after, Revier confronted Featherfall about his silence from his meeting with Dainsleif. He admitted how it made him spiral, and as a visionary, Featherfall already knew that Revier would confront him for this reason. All he said was this, and honestly, it's so painful to even hear what we knew about Revier and Thelindis, but Featherfall advised him to find another fiancé. Damn! They actually give us an immediate answer to this, because after Featherfall told Revier about his advice, we are teleported to Thelindis' memory, and we learn that she is also a descendant of the Crimson Moon dynasty. Plot twist after plot twist, I know. We even learn from Orlok that the reason Ermin hunted this bloodline is to find the secrets of the Crimson Moon, and it won't be long until Calamity descend upon Khaenri'ah, matching the lore behind the Crimson Moon's semblance and Wings of Fate's course intertwined. But the saddest thing of all this is that both Thelindis and Revier lied to each other about their background. Revier is an executor of the Crimson Moon bloodline, while Thelindis is a descendant of the Crimson Moon dynasty. In one scene, we are shown to Revier doing his training, and then transitioning to him already unaliving the children. It got even worse because Thelindis eventually became Revier's next target to execute. What is this quest? Eventually, Revier reached a point where he couldn't do this anymore and even planned to stop Ermin's ridiculous orders once and for all. It started when he freed his next target named Fritter, a child who is also a friend of Thelindis. I believe this child will be relevant again in the future, and I wouldn't be surprised if Arlecchino is related to this child, but for now, just know that this child is one of, if not the only target that Revier freed. Now we enter the chess cutscene where this set is actually a simulation created by Nefer using the chess set. It basically simulated a scene where Featherfall was already blinded, yes, literally blinded by Ermin, and Dainsleif assembled a group of people to rescue him. Anyways, we then witness another of Thelindis' memories, and we learn that Ermin put an order to make all of the Crimson Moon tools and studies to be transported into the Abyssal Energy Studies, which yeah, Definitely nothing is going to wrong with that. Anyways, while Dainsleif and Sir Delogi distract the guards, Raptor and Reinhardt disarm the security measures in order for Rary to save Federfolnir directly. Arriving at Federfolnir's prison, he revealed that the reason he was imprisoned and blinded is not necessarily because of a prophecy, but because he warned Ermin that if he continues to pursue his obsession with abyssal powers, Kynria will fall. Now if you remember about the whispering earlier, it is said that it was Federfolnir's voice. Rary confronted Federfolnir about this, and it turns out that it was not Federfolnir. If you can already guess by now how the sinners became who they are, the voice he kept hearing is none other than the Abyss. In fact, Rary is not the only one that heard this voice, but also Federfolnir. It wouldn't be a surprise if the other sinners also hear this voice as well. After freeing Federfolnir, he advised Rary to go to Universitas Magistrorum, as abyssal energy starts to get out of control, where Thelindis is in grave danger.
이건
레리르, 너 역시 임무를 완수하러 왔구나.
뭐? 아니야. 왕국에서 큰일이 벌어졌어. 어서 나가자.
나한텐 거짓말할 필요 없어.
거짓말이라니.
네 걱정을 이해해. 네 결정 역시 존중하고. 괜찮아. 나는 이미 해법을 찾아냈으니까. 이 모든 걸 끝낼 방법을 알았어. 네가 바라는 평범한 삶을 돌려줄게. 그 대신 결혼은 좀 미뤄야 할 것 같아.
솔린디스! 안 돼! 가지마! 솔린디스! 솔린디스!
충고했을 텐데 포기해라. 더 좋은 짝이 있을 테니.
아니! 안 돼! 솔린디스를 구할 거야!
네가 무슨 능력으로 힘도 의지도 평범하기 짝이 없는 첩보원 주제에
당신은 방법을 알지? 말해!
이쪽에 합류해라. 왕궁이다.
레리를 마침 잘 알았어. 어서!
자, 와서 네 몫을 가져와라.
제때 왔네.
설마 너...
분노든 슬픔이든 절망이든 갈망이든 우리의 곁을 가지 않아.
레리르! 레리르!
아, 솔린디스.
무슨 생각해? 레리르, 기억나? 2주 전에 네가 나한테 했던 얘기.
아, 내가 너한테 청혼한 거 말이야?
응. 있잖아. 그 대답을 어디서 해주면 좋겠어? 고즈넉한 정원? 분위기 있는 레스토랑?
어디든 좋아. 멈춰.
You know, I love how River is written, because here's the thing, his background is just so tragic and you can't help but feel really awful for him. But at the same time, you can't really feel bad either because of what he did after that. Not only that, even though he mostly cared about himself, his personal problems also played a huge part in Kainria's fall. This deserves its own video, by the way, so be sure to stay tuned on that. I'm actually quite excited to talk about it. Also, yes, I cried watching that cutscene because of how depressing it was. Now, the next part of this act is Nefer's story quest, and it's mostly about her and how similar she is towards Revir, where both lie to each other for their own personal deeds. Personally, there really isn't much relevancy towards the rest of the lore, but to make it simple for you all, Nefer and the gang are transported to Nefer's past, where they learn how she murdered an entire tribe that murdered her own tribe and her father. We also learned that Nahida should have just executed Azar for his insane racism, and we learned that Nefer got her powers from one of the 7 pillars, the Ibis King Thoth, also known as the Lord of Lies. The reason they were transported here is because of Revir's interference, as he knew that Nefer had been looking at his memories this whole time. Funnily enough, Nefer and Thoth are strongly connected towards 3 moon goddesses, especially Thoth and also Nabu Balikata, but they didn't elaborate that in this quest, and it's all locked behind her character story. But regardless, just know that Nefer got her moon will because Thoth gave it to her after a long overdue. We can talk more about this in another video. Now enjoy the cutscene.
아슈리였구나.
이건 괜찮은 건가요? 보통 이런 상황에선 이야기가 끝나고 공간이 해체돼. 우리의 정신도 제자리로 돌아갈 거야. 더구나 이건 내 기억이니 겁낼 거 없어. 정말인가요? 그래, 이야기는 끝이야.
기다려!
너무 많은 걸 알면 제명에 못 죽는 법이지.
당신처럼?
추하군.
So far for context, we are further revealed at the quest that the brooch saved them because it was gifted to Dori by Alice and is infused with Kuvaki. It's the reason why Dori was so hesitant to give it to Nefer to begin with, but at the same time, Dori already planned to give it anyway, considering the enemy that they're facing, and let's just say as her thank you to Nefer for helping her in Not Cry. Anyways, after the gang is rescued, they update the rest of the intel to the gang and we learn that the gate that the Lindis and Veru entered is something called the Moon Gate. As to where it leads, Llama states that it is some sort of legend in the Frostmourne Scions, but per Columbina, she has no idea where it leads to, but it is also a gateway to the moon that she can open at her own will with the current strength that she has. That being said, this connects with Veru falling into the moon's reflection. It's very unlikely that the Lindis and Veru fell and left unscathed, and the reason Veru is still alive until today is because of the power of the Abyss, or in more accurate terms as per Albedo, he is the manifestation of the Abyss. Now, assuming that Veru entered the same gate as the Lindis, hear me out, they might have crushed to pieces and fused at the same time. This could be the reason why we experience the Lindis' memory in Veru's. If that's not the case, then at least their memories are. In any case, after giving the intel, everyone had a rest and they began planning the next day, with Dori also involved out of all people. So basically, the chess set can only contain Veru in less than 2 days, and Dori's role here is actually a lot bigger than you might have thought. Because of Dori's connection with Alice, long ago, Alice told Dori that the world won't be safe forever, and Dori told Nahida about this. Nahida acted fast and brought together the top scholars of Sumeru to invent a machine that can keep everyone safe. The machine was materialized by Kaveh, as he is the top talent of Kshawarar, and it was then sent to Dori a few days before this plan to fight Veru was put into motion. Dori became vulnerable with us, which felt so out of character but also sweet at the same time, because at the end of the day, she cares for Sumeru and her Archon. In any case, the Traveler brings the item to Albedo and Durin. Everyone pursues their plan, evacuating the Frostmourne Scions, had the before war chat, and the time comes to fight the Rehir of Solnari. Let me just say, either every battle is a bitch, my laptop is lagging, or my Archons, this team after the first phase is so damn awful. What do you mean we have to use the worst Traveler element? At least they could have just brought Aino back, but no, they didn't. I just hope this is a sign that they'll buff the Hydra Traveler or something, because this is so ass. But in any case, we got further reveals about the core plan to defeat Revir. Basically, Nefer and the Traveler had to endure Veru's attacks the moment they got separated, and everyone knew that they're the ones that Veru will target because they are the ones that have been interfering with Veru's plans this whole time. Once that comes, they have to rage bait Veru as much as possible in order for them to steal his power.
왜? 이 이름이 무섭나요?
자기 자신을 마주하기가 어지간히 두렵나 보지?
이제 그만 끝내주마! 이건... 이 힘... 본 적이 있어!
달 사냥꾼은 강해요. 연성진으로 그의 힘을 전환한 뒤 그걸 전부 콜럼비나 씨에게 집중시켜야 잠시나마 그와 대등한 수준의 힘을 가질 수 있죠.
그건 내가 도울게. 심연의 힘을 방출해 대상구역의 심연의 힘을 한계치까지 끌어올리면 압력차로 원수력을 대량 추출할 수 있어. 이어서 불원소의 힘으로 모두의 정신과 연결하면 아주 잠깐이지만 넌 모두의 시야와 특성을 갖게 될 거야. 잘 보여?
충분히.
이야기에 라인도 티르와 관련된 사람이 있었을 줄이야.
그러게?
내 힘으로 날 상대한다고?
너도 달의 힘을 훔쳤잖아. 똑같아.
근문을 유지하는데 얼마나 막대한 힘이 드는지 모르나?
그걸 유지하는 건 내가 아냐.
잘 가라, 레리르.
우리가 이겼어.
Pretty interesting, isn't it? As much as I want to say that they won, I don't think they completely won because they say to themselves that they can't defeat him no matter what. Even Albedo stated himself as the creator of Human Durin and Rhindaughter's student. After very strict marketing recently, we can safely say that this should at least buy them some time before he's back. But there are many things to consider because how can Dainsleif manage to keep the Moongate open? However, this confirms that Dainsleif's power is not abyssal in nature, which should be obvious already, especially as he himself was trying to rebel against Ermin, as we already see in River's past. In any case, everyone gains their victory. Nefer and Llama indirectly flirt with each other for some reason, and everyone had a victory feast in the flagship tavern. This is where Act 4 of the Song of Vulcan Moon officially ends. Oh, and the mysterious ally broke a glass after that. Now this is more of a bonus section, but this is where we learn more about Sandrone's background, and we also learn that even Sandrone hates the Torre. Oh, what a surprise, everyone fucking hates the Torre, and for a very good reason. Anyways, we learn more about Sandrone as she suddenly confirms the popular theory that she is indeed a creation of Elan Giatan. Look, that's how Sandrone pronounced it, okay? I'm doing my best here. So after you talk to everyone in Flagship Tavern, you get a bonus conversation with Sandrone and join her tea party. Most of the things she talks about are basically a recap of the Narcissan Cruz Order questline. Like, I'm not kidding, she recaps the whole questline in under 15 minutes, and I personally recommend you to watch or rewatch the whole conversation yourself. But here's the theory I made from what I observed. Sandrone is a good friend of Elan, and yes, it is strange because Elan lived hundreds of years ago. That being said, it's confirmed that Sandrone not only has lived for hundreds of years, but also a sentient puppet herself, which should be obvious with the key on her back. With her uncanny resemblance towards Marianne, it should be obvious too that Sandrone is modeled based on Marianne's appearance. However, whether she has the soul of Marianne or not, I find that to be very unlikely because Sandrone has no memory of Marianne, or at least what is implied to be, since she doesn't mention Marianne at all. She only talks about everything that she knows based on what Elan told her, and it doesn't seem that Elan told Sandrone about his stepsister at all. However, this also makes perfect sense why Sandrone is able to create the Catherine puppets. Before Elan passed away, he asked Sandrone to destroy all of his research, and while she did just that, she first read every single one of them since she didn't want them to go to waste. So it's very possible that Sandrone created the Catherines like how Elan created her. In fact, Sandrone is likely not the only similar puppet that was created by Elan, because she said she was the only quotations normal person left who knew him, as in implying there's a similar puppet that is like her. But this also makes Sandrone's loneliness make a lot of sense because Alan seems to be the only person that she can call as a friend. The moment she joined the Fatui for whatever reason she had, she made friends with a lot of the Harbingers, hence why she was so sad when Signora was executed by the Shogun. She even calls her by her name too, Rosaline. She is also sad when Capitano is no longer with them and shows some tsundere personality towards Columbina because she just can't show that sense of loneliness towards her. In any case, I think this update is a great act so far. I'm very satisfied with the lore, and I do hope you too as well. Don't forget to let me know your thoughts about this update in the comments. Jana!